Hi everyone, welcome to Nature Risks and Opportunities for Insurers, brought to you by Better Insurance Network in partnership with our sponsor, Oliver Wyman. I'm Anthony Ireland, founder of Better Insurance Network, and I'm really looking forward to the next couple of hours where we're going to be focusing on one of the most important and potentially challenging emerging sustainability topics for insurers, which is nature. So questions like, how are our portfolios exposed to nature-related risks? How are our clients and investees impacting nature, and what can we do about it? What opportunities exist to develop insurance products that harness and restore nature while also generating revenues? And most companies are still right at the start of answering these questions, but we've assembled a fantastic group of speakers who are making progress on this topic and who can hopefully inspire some ideas and give everyone some practical first steps to get moving on this. Because while a lot of our attention has quite rightly and understandably been focused on climate change and emissions, we can't fix climate change without nature. Nature underpins our physical, social, and economic resilience. According to the World Economic Forum, more than 50% of GDP globally is reliant on nature to some degree. And we are devastating biodiversity, and nature is being degraded at a really alarming rate. Of the 9 planetary boundaries under threat, 6 are nature related. So this is a really urgent, critical issue for the world. And as insurers, we have an important role to play. So we have to improve our understanding of how we impact the natural world, what risks and opportunities nature poses for us, and of course, the vital role of insurance in building a more sustainable world that harnesses natural capital and services. And I'm sure our keynote speaker, Diaz Castro, may want to cover some of this, so I won't steal her thunder and I'll stop talking in a second. Diana is Program Supervisor of the Principles for Sustainable Insurance for the UN Environment Programme Finance Initiative. I'm really looking forward to hearing her thoughts on this, on why nature should be top of the agenda for insurers and how we can move towards a nature-positive approach to insurance. After Diana's presentation, we'll then have 2 panels, one looking at nature risk assessment and the other looking at how we can start thinking about developing nature-based solutions and looking at some examples of solutions that are already out there in the market today. Please do also check out our on-demand presentations from Nature Broking and Salam Takaful, as well as the exhibitor booths, as it's really important that we support companies and organizations who are pushing this agenda on the ground. So without further ado, I will move on. I hope everyone finds this really valuable over the next couple of hours. We will have polls running in the live panel sessions, so please do complete those, and of course, ask any questions that you would like to address to the speakers. But for now, I will hand over to Diana. Thank you so much for joining us, Diana, and over to you.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone joining today. Thanks to Anthony, Better Insurance Network, and Oliver Wyman for the invitation to provide a keynote at this timely session to discuss a very important topic. That's the intersection of nature-related risks and opportunities within the insurance industry. And to set the stage, let's delve into the science. The same way we refer to the IPCC to understand the science behind climate change, we need to refer to IPBES to understand the science behind nature loss and biodiversity degradation. For those of you who don't know it, IPBES is an independent intergovernmental body with over 130 member states, and it is tasked with producing the Global Assessment Report on Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services. The latest assessment was published in 2019, and it provides 4 key findings that we need to understand. The first one, we know that nature underpins quality of life by providing basic life support, material goods, and other services. However, the report tells us that human activities have led to the accelerated deterioration of biodiversity and ecosystem functions and services. The second finding tells us that globally, land use change is the direct driver with the largest relative impact on terrestrial and freshwater ecosystems, while direct exploitation of fish and seafood has the largest relative impact in the oceans. The other three direct drivers of nature loss include climate change, pollution, and invasive alien species. These drivers have led to a number of dramatic impacts, such as the decrease of ecosystems by an average of 47% of their estimated natural baselines, with many continuing to decline by at least 4% per decade. Human actions have already driven at least 680 vertebrate species to extinction since the 1500s, and 25% of species are already threatened by extinction. A third key finding is that the Sustainable Development Goals, including those on water and sanitation, climate action, life below water, and life on land, cannot be achieved if we follow the current trends. Taking climate as an example, we know that climate goals cannot be achieved if we don't reverse nature loss. And in turn, the adverse impacts of climate change on biodiversity are projected to increase with increasing warming. In summary, climate and nature are both sides of the same coin. So limiting global warming to well below 1.5 degrees will have multiple co-benefits for nature and nature's contributions to people. The fourth and final key finding of the assessment tells us that there is hope, that decision makers have a range of options and tools for improving the sustainability of economic and financial systems, but it also tells us that we need to act urgently. In response to the concerning results of this global assessment, there were a series of international negotiations which culminated with the creation of the Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework in 2022. This historic agreement sets out an ambitious pathway to reach the global vision of a world living in harmony with nature by 2050. Among the framework's key elements are 4 goals for 2050 and 23 targets for 2030. The GBF has been compared to the Paris Agreement, but for nature, and similarly, we can expect that its implementation will impact all sectors of society, and of course, it will have implications for the insurance industry. In particular, goals A, B, C, D, and targets 14, 15, and 19 are relevant for the insurance industry, with target 19 being recognized as the finance target. This involves a more significant role for private finance than any comparable global agreement, and it calls for private finance to play a significant role in closing the nature finance gap. Working in parallel with the GBF, we have the global goal of nature positive. This is a guiding target which many compare to net zero in climate, and it aims at taking urgent action to halt and reverse nature loss by 2030, measured from a baseline of 2020. But what does all this mean for the insurance industry? Let's start to understand it by introducing the concept of nature-related risks. According to the Task Force for Nature-Related Financial Disclosures, TNFD, nature-related risks are potential threats posed to an organization that arise from its dependencies and impacts on nature. They can be classified, as you can see on the screen, into physical, transition, and systemic risks. Physical risks result from the degradation of nature and consequential loss of ecosystem services, and they can be acute or chronic. Transition risks result from a misalignment of economic actors with actions aimed at protecting, restoring, and reducing negative impacts on nature. These risks can be prompted, for example, by changes in regulation and policy, legal precedent, technology, or investor sentiment and consumer preferences. Finally, systemic risks arise from a breakdown of the entire system rather than the failure of individual parts. And these are characterized by modest tipping points, which end up producing large failures and lead to the destabilization of entire financial systems. For insurers in particular, nature-related risks can materialize in a number of ways. A very specific way is the increase of insured losses due to an increase in the frequency and severity of nature-related physical risks. The combination of climate change and nature loss also has the potential of changing the insurance business profoundly and making parts of the world uninsurable, which is a reality we are already seeing today. But nature-related risks are not only relevant for property and casualty insurers. Nature also has a very strong impact on human health. We know that it provides food, medicines, clean water. It helps to regulate diseases. It controls the levels of certain pollutants, and it can improve mental and physical health. Last year, the PSI published the first global guide for managing ESG risks in the life and health insurance business, identifying that nature-related risks can have a significant impact on the underwriting risks of mortality, longevity, morbidity, and hospitalization. So, in conclusion, whether you're a non-life or life and health insurer, the more you understand nature-related risks, the more you can make good decisions when managing them and serving your clients. But beyond being a risk management priority, nature can also be a strategic opportunity for innovative insurers. According to TNFD, nature-related opportunities are defined as activities that create positive outcomes for organizations. And those opportunities emerge when organizations avoid, reduce, mitigate, or manage nature-related risks, or through the strategic transformation of business models, products, services, markets, and investments that actively work to halt and reverse nature loss. The TNFD categorizes nature-related opportunities into those related to business performance and those related to sustainability performance, as you can see on the screen. A particular opportunity for the insurance industry is that of product innovation. A case study in this area that you probably know is that of the parametric insurance developed for the protection of the coral reef in the Mesoamerican barrier. So in Quintana Roo, coastal tourism business, property owners, and local municipalities work towards a nature-based solution by purchasing parametric catastrophe insurance that protects 160 kilometers of coral reef against damages from storms. In this case, insurance payouts are used to fund reef recovery and restoration activities conducted by specialist reef brigades. These activities not only minimize storm damage to coastal communities, but they also enhance reef recovery while being a very cost-effective solution. Another example of a nature-related opportunity is the promotion of green mangrove insurance solutions, which support disaster risk reduction and at the same time support climate goals. We know that mangroves serve as a first line of coastal defense against tropical storms, and they are also powerful carbon sinks. As such, their preservation is key to reducing physical climate risks, protecting local communities and economies, and sequestering and storing carbon. Nature-based solutions can also provide opportunities for new risk management services and new insurance solutions. In 2017 and 2018 alone, Northern California incurred losses of over $10 billion as a result of wildfires, which makes ecological risk reduction efforts increasingly important for insurers. A study by the Nature Conservancy and Willis Tower Watson found that the physical forestry practices can result in 10 to 80% premium reductions, demonstrating that this measure successfully reduces ecological and economic risks and has the potential to make insurance more accessible and more affordable for local communities. So now that we have talked about nature-related risk and nature-related opportunities, let's bring all those concepts together. And to do that, I would like to introduce the concept of nature-positive insurance, or NPI. This is a concept that has been catalyzed by the activities of the Principles for Sustainable Insurance over the years, culminating with the Nature Positive Insurance Series in 2021 and the publication of a briefing paper looking at evolving thinking and practices earlier this year. In this paper, we provide the first ever definition of nature positive insurance as the combination of risk management and insurance strategies to address nature-related dependencies, impacts, risks, and opportunities in order to value, conserve, restore, and widely use biodiversity and ecosystem services in a sustainable way. Through this paper, we identified 8 approaches that insurers can adopt to advance NPI, or nature positive insurance. And those approaches include embedding nature in risk management frameworks, setting underwriting criteria and guidelines for the most nature negative activities, engaging with clients and potential clients, particularly those with the most harming activities for nature, developing insurance products and solutions that use nature-based solutions, offering sustainable claims options, advocating for and engaging in governmental policies, collaborating with key stakeholders on projects, programs, and initiatives that support and promote nature-positive insurance, and finally, disclosing the organization's nature-related dependencies, impacts, risks, and opportunities. There is, however, a long way to go as the frameworks and methodologies to scale up nature-positive insurance need to be developed. The mainstreaming of nature-related financial disclosures is already in progress with the launch of the TNFD framework earlier this year and the expectation of further adoption and regulatory requirements. However, further work is needed to develop qualitative and quantitative tools to assess risks, measure impacts, and set targets to support the transition to a nature-positive economy. I'm very conscious that we don't have a lot of time left, but if you want to learn more about the concept of nature-positive insurance, feel free to download the briefing paper from the UNEP website at any time. I am going to close here, not without thanking everyone for your attention and thanking Anthony and the entire team at Better Insurance Network for this great invitation. I hope that you enjoyed the rest of today's session and find the inspiration to work towards a nature positive world. Thank you very much.